afternoon, almost. We've still got some exciting speakers for you today, and I'm going to introduce one, but first, I did want to say a special word. We have hundreds more in our overflow room in the hallway, and I want to say to them watching on camera, we appreciate you sticking it out. We appreciate you guys being part of this. The conservative movement today owes a debt of gratitude to Senator Rick Santorum.
And I want to thank you particularly because one of the things I hear everywhere I go as I cross the state and frankly across this country is that people are saying the same thing, oh, even more than hello, which is, I'm praying for you. And I can tell you that we appreciate it very much. This is, people say, how do you go on and, go to 385 town hall meetings in Iowa and then continue to cross this country ever since June. We've had 2 days off. I've had 2 days off for Thanksgiving, 3 days off for Christmas, but I've been out on the road every other day, going across trying to deliver a message to this country that this is the most important election in our country's history. And I do it, and we've been able to do it because of your prayers and support. And so I just want, on behalf of Karen and the family, just to thank you. Thank all of you, not just here in Wisconsin, but across America for doing that. And it is holding us up. And it is making a difference. One of the campaigns for president a week or so ago suggested that it would take an act of God for Rick Santorum to win the Republican nomination. I don't know about you, but I believe in act of God. So a lot of issues have been focused on in this campaign. People are saying this race is about the economy. And that's where all the media is focused, and that's where all the energy is. And look, I believe the economy is a vitally important issue. I talk about it all the time. But I also talk about the other issues that are important to our country. I was just out at the Jelly Belly factory, the Jelly Bean factory out in Northern California, and gave a talk to remind us what built the conservative movement. Conservative movement wasn't just focused on one issue. Never has been. Why? Because we understand it's insufficient. But you can't have a strong economy unless you're safe from threats from around the world. You can't have a strong economy unless you have a strong moral foundation of our country, in particular, a strong family. That is the message that I've been delivering across this country. It's a comprehensive message. It's the Reagan message. It's the three-legged stool. Why? Not because, well, they happen to be all very nice principled positions. Because they work together. They interrelate. We can't be a party or a movement that just focuses on one thing because it happens to be the most important or salient issue at the time without understanding that what rallies and encourages us, all of us as conservatives, are issues far beyond just the moment, the pressing issue of the day. Certainly you have to have a game plan to go out and address those issues. And we have. We've gone out there with a message that the Wall Street Journal refers to as supply-side economics for the working man. Because we talk about energy, we talk about growing the energy sector of our economy, we talk about manufacturing here in Wisconsin, one of the great manufacturing states of this country. And we see manufacturers still leaving the state of Wisconsin. Still, the opportunities to compete against foreign competition makes it an uneven playing field for America. And that's why I've gone out with a bold plan that repeals every single Obama regulation that he's put in place that costs over $100 million a year. We can do that on day one. I'm the only person that's gone out there and made that kind of bold statement. Why? Because it is constricting the growth of our economy. Number two, to take the tax code, simplify it. We've got the simplest tax code. It's 2 rates. Some other Wisconsinite also went with a 2-rate tax plan of 10 and 28%. And simple, 5 deductions. Children, charities, pensions, healthcare, and housing. Very simple plan. Simplify. Pro-growth. Corporate tax, cut it in half. For manufacturers and processors, though, so we can compete around the world. we eliminate the corporate tax. So we've got a plan on growing the economy. We've got a plan on reducing the budget deficit. $5 trillion in 5 years. Not 10 years, 5 years. Getting to a balanced budget in 5 years. All of these things we've been after. We're going to grow this economy, shrink the size of the government. But let's be honest, folks. That shrinking the size of the government, we can try to do that. But if we don't have strong families, then we're only a temporary blip in getting those numbers down. Because without a strong basis for the government to be able to receive, someone else has to pick up the slack. One of your state senators here in Wisconsin, Senator Groth, showed me a chart that if you're a single woman earning $15,000 a year in the state of Wisconsin with 2 children, the state of Wisconsin provides $38,000 in benefits. $38,000 in benefits. Now, I'm sure it's well-meaning. You want to help people in difficult situations. But if she gets married, she loses $38,000. And so what have we done? In an attempt to help, in an attempt to try to be, helpful to people who are going through a difficult time, what we've done is destroy the opportunity for marriage. We've destroyed the opportunity for people to get married. Even if they're cohabitating, they're better off cohabitating than getting married. It's government going in and doing things that they think are being helpful. But they're not. The federal government's not and the state is not. And that's why we have to get these programs out of Washington, D.C. We need to get them back to the states, and the states have to get them back into the local communities. We have to start understanding that as much as we try to help, that if we don't have families be more stable and secure in America, limited government is impossible. The poverty rate among 2-parent families is 1/5, 8% of what it is among single-parent families, almost 40%. We know that you can't have a stable and growing economy as the family breaks down, and folks, we don't have to tell you it is. In America today, 51% of people over the age of 18 are married. That's down from 71% 30 years ago. Down 5% in the last 3 years. And it's dropping like a rock. In part because of bad programs. In part because of a popular culture. People who are leaders in our country who disparage the institution of marriage and are trying to cheapen it. Ladies and gentlemen, we need someone who's going to go out and tell the truth to the American public about what's concerning our economy, what's concerning the American family, and be able to tie the two together so we can have a resurgence in America. A resurgence that, yes, allows us to cut taxes and create energy policy to grow the economy, but also one that understands that we need someone who's going to remind us what made this country great. Ronald Reagan did. This country is a great country because we were founded great. We were founded on the idea of limited government under our Constitution. We saw that debate in the Supreme Court just this week. Is the Constitution a document that actually says you can limit the power of the federal government, or have we now reached the point where the document of the United States Constitution is not worth the paper it's printed on? And the court will decide that, but folks, we get to decide that too. We get to decide that in this election. This election has to be about big things, about limited government, the upward potential of the American people. It has to be about whether we're going to build a great and just society from the bottom up, one family at a time, one church, one school, one community and civic organization, one small business, or whether we're going to be a country that's ruled from the top. And the two biggest issues in this race, you've talked about a lot here today, are Obamacare and, of course, energy. And I would just share with you that if you want Obamacare repealed, anybody want Obamacare repealed? We can't rely on the Supreme Court. We've got to rely on people who want to stand up and fight for freedom, just like you're doing here in the state of Wisconsin, standing by your governor and fighting for freedom and opportunity here in the state of Wisconsin. We have to fight for that, and the central point in that fight is, in fact, government takeover of health care. As Justice Kennedy said, it changes, fundamentally, he said, it will change the relationship between the government and their people. Why? Well, because our country was based on we the people. We the people govern. And the government is there to serve us. But when the government now controls your health care, your access to it, tells you what you must buy, tells you to do things that may even be against your faith convictions, you no longer rule the government. The government rules you. That's the thing. If we're going to win this election, we have to make this the centerpiece. There's no issue before us that has a greater impact on a greater number of voters in such an important, impactful way. Number one, those of who don't want to see the government grow, obviously the biggest entitlement program in modern history, Obamacare, $2 trillion. Second, unemployment. The Congressional Budget Office says it will increase unemployment by 800,000, and that's a modest number. Slowing down economic growth. Again, raising taxes, spending money, and of course, the relationship between you and the government. You will now be told how to run your life when it comes to your health care. Your economic freedom will be taken, and your religious freedom will be taken. Think of all of the richness of issues that if we make this a centerpiece and repeal of Obamacare, the centerpiece of our election, and have someone who can go out and make the arguments, because, well, I never supported those arguments, ever. On Monday, I stood at the base of the steps of the Supreme Court and said, if you want Obamacare repealed, you can't rely on the Supreme Court, you can't rely on winning the United States Senate. We had to pick up 13 votes to win the United States Senate. You have to have this race be a mandate for repeal. And unfortunately, the choice that you have before you in this election here in Wisconsin on Tuesday, you have one person who can make that case, and you have one who can't. Why? Because he presented the blueprint for Obamacare and advocated for exactly what Obamacare did, which is a mandated health insurance program that sets a prescription on what you can buy, taxes employers, taxes people who don't buy insurance. It is exactly the Massachusetts health care. And the people who developed the Massachusetts health care plan actually went and helped Obamacare. Obama in developing his plan. He is uniquely disqualified. The reason Karen and I decided with 7 children ages 20 to 3 is that we knew this would be the biggest issue in this race. Because it's about freedom. It's about who we are. Whether we're going to be that country, that shining city on the hill that stands for a beacon of hope and opportunity for the world because we believe in free people. And I knew that we would not be able to have the strongest nominee unless we had someone who could make this center stage, could take it to a problem without reservation, without them being able to turn around and say, oh, really, this is what you said. This is what you did. And you did the same thing. It is Obama's Achilles heel. 75% of the American public would like to see it repealed in one fashion or another. It is the most pressing issue of our time because it is about who we are. Why in the world would the Republican Party give that issue away in the general election? Why would and it's not just that. The other big and pressing issue right now, energy. High gas prices. I never once, it's like the old, I never was a member of the Communist Party, I never agreed to man-made global warming. Right? Never once was I a member of the club who bought into not climate science, but political science of man-made global warming. And I see it as a reason to go ahead and expand the size and scale of government by imposing a cap and tax program. But again, here on maybe the second most visceral issue, $4 or $5 gasoline, and who knows what will be in the fall. The most visceral issue that will harm our economy and hurt the average person, those folks who are in the middle, who swing elections one way or the other. There's only one candidate that didn't buy in to this political science. Only one candidate who didn't say higher gas prices are a good thing and that we need to have less consumption of gasoline in America. There's only one candidate that said we needed to have a pro-energy program to grow this economy, to open up areas on federal lands to reduce our budget deficit, as well as grow this economy. There's only one person who can go out, Barack Obama, without him turning around and saying, oh, by the way, you bought into this too. Again, why? Why would we give this issue away? The top two economic issues as to who we are as Americans and what's affecting the American public. We have someone who can go out and make that argument, and make the argument to all conservatives, to rally conservatives. How did we win the 2010 election? We won it by energizing the Tea Party and conservatives and storming the polling places. We were able to win, not with moderate candidates, but with conservative candidates who the people knew when they went to Washington, D.C., you could trust them to do what they say. No etch-a-sketch. Not written on an etch-a-sketch, but written on your heart. Governor Romney said he's going to run as a conservative in response to the etch-a-sketch scandal. I'm not going to run as a conservative. I am a conservative. Conservatives, people who care about faith, freedom, family, limited government, a strong national defense. Someone who understands that the Reagan coalition is alive and well. Why? Because it's not a Reagan coalition. It's the Founders Coalition. It's who we are as America. It's what makes us great. And if you stand by that, don't listen to the pundits. I bet you there's a lot of folks out here who get frustrated when you elect members of Congress or others, and they go to Washington and they say they're going to be a conservative, and in order to pass a bill or two, to win a victory or two, they compromise their principles again and again. That's why congressional poll ratings are around 10%. Well, then I turn that back on you, because they're telling you the same thing right now. They're telling you to compromise. They're telling you to give up your principles in order to win. How's that been working out for us? Giving up our principles in order to win. Ladies and gentlemen, don't do what you criticize your elected officials in doing. Stand up for what you know is right for America. Stand up and vote your conscience. Because you know what? What you know is right for America is also a winning message for America. You do that, we will win. Thank you all very much.